Start us off.
I just wanted to say I think some people listened to the radio show last night, and I talked about a couple things that are very close to me in the city of Houston. It's really a tough time, and I think now that the pictures have come out in video, I think the world understands what a lot of people in this region have known for the last 3 days, and it's something that has hit home with us as a team, with a number of players from the Gulf Coast area, in and around the Gulf Coast, and in Houston in particular. So with school being out here the last couple of days, it's been a different schedule, we've had some meetings here as a team, just about family, friends, loved ones, people that are cut off, and I relayed some stories last night on the radio show of an old neighborhood I used to live in, and people getting out of there and they're on their way here and can't get there, so they're trapped. And it's a tough time for people of Houston and the Gulf Coast, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. And I think anybody around or is able to help, on my Twitter page, pinned on my Twitter page is American Red Cross article, and there you can go to find how, if you want to help this area through donations, through volunteering, through emergency needs. You got people that are still stranded, and if you have relatives and you have a location, maybe their phone has run out, and they're up on top of a roof somewhere or trapped, and you can pass that location along to the American Red Cross. They'll get it to the right people. So as I said, that's at Coach Sumlin, and they'll take you to the numbers and the links that you can use to help in any way you can. And it's I think as I said, the pictures and videos come out now. It is it's a lot more serious than even those look. So it affects us. We've talked about it openly as a team, as a program. Obviously, with our university closed for the last couple of days, we've had a little bit more time to talk about those things. But I just really want to make sure that this platform we could use to try to help the people of Houston. Okay. And we'll move on to questions.
Questions? Down front, Olin.
Coach, you mentioned you have a lot of guys from Houston and Gulf Coast. I would imagine it's very difficult for them to keep their minds on football. Do you have a sense that they're having some trouble with that?
Yeah, I mean, and I've said before, I think this team's a lot different. I think we have things in place, and we're really anticipatory of the situation that was coming. David Batson, our compliance, our athletic director, our administration, we had a meeting last week with what was coming up, just to let our players know, hey, listen, we're going to keep you safe. Here's the plan for your parents or guardian through the NCAA, through student assistance funds, things like that could reassure our student athletes that, number one, we're going to do everything in our power for their safety with the storm, with Harvey on its way, because at that point nobody really knew what was going to happen, and all we knew was it was going to be bad. And then the second part was that, hey, here's what we can do with your parents or your guardian, and make sure we're communicating, and through the student assistance fund and things like that. If they have to evacuate, we can. Your family is a part of our family, is an extended part of our family, and we can do a lot of things through the NCAA to help their transition and to help them, in that situation. And I think that put a lot of guys' minds at ease. But the reality is you can get away from the situation, but you can't replace memories and things that are destroyed in something like this. And so that's a part that you deal with later. But right now you're dealing with the human element in our university and the NCAA, and I think has done a wonderful job of communicating and creating an atmosphere where on an individual basis things can look bleak, but I think the communication has been good, and we've had a couple different circumstances where players have said exactly what you see on television, and get their parents and or guardians out of there and get them to a hotel. And the NCAA has done a great job, and our administration has done a great job of communicating with us and the players. And I think in this time that's really all you can do. And like I said last night, I've got close friends that were trying to get just from South Houston to College Station, and the far as they could get was, Bucky could get was to Katy. And he spent the last couple of nights in a hotel in Katy, so in between. So we can't get there, they can't get here. But I think the university, our administration has done a nice job of having our players feel like we're doing everything we can.
Down front, Brent.
You've mentioned with Jarrett Johnson that he had as many sacks, as Deshaun last year. But what is it about Jarrett that gives you confidence moving forward this season?
I think first, I've said this though before too, Brent. It's hard. You're not going to replace the first pick of the draft. We'd love to every year. First of all, we'd love to have the first pick of the draft every year. But Jarrett is a guy that has worked, and it's his time. And so, as I've said before, I've seen a lot of guys transition when a great player in front of them leaves. And when that great player is there, maybe they're not playing as hard. They know they're a backup. There's no, unless he gets hurt. And here's the other thing. People forget that, Jarrett played a lot more than if you go back and look. He played a lot of snaps last year because Miles was hurt. 2 or 3 games through that span. So he's got experience, and he's got the savvy at that position. He's gained some weight to hold a point a little bit more instead of just being a pass rusher. He's an every down guy now. I don't know what he was, 55, 60 or something like that. So he's big enough. He's athletic enough. It's his time. And like I said, you look at guys a little bit different. Grow their hair out, maybe get a tattoo, something like that. New earring, I don't know. He just looks different. He's acting different. When you go from the backup to the best player, best player in the country, to okay, now it's my turn. I think things change for you internally, whether you believe that or not. I think that's the case, and I know he's anxious to play and he's anxious to lead. And like I said, you don't replace Myles Garrett as a player, but that group with Quaylen, I think Michael Clemens has had a exceptional last week. The lights really started to come on for him. That whole group of guys you're not looking for one player to replace those two, but I think the top 4 guys will give you an opportunity to approach that production this year, and if they do that, that's what you're looking for.
We'll go Gabe, Chip, and then Suzanne.
Yeah, Kevin, what can you tell us about how the quarterbacks have looked, have handled the competition, and have prepared themselves for this opportunity, have grown in Mazzoni's system?
Yeah, I think they've done a great job. I think, this group they were great in the spring. And as I told you, as I went around this summer and talked, they have communicated with the coaching staff, they've communicated with the players, they've communicated in their group. We've been pleased with their progress. To your question, without beating around the bush, we're happy with our plan. We know what we want to do. We've started to work that plan last week. Our team understands what's going on. The guys understand what's happening. So we're going to continue with that plan and as it is. And so it's really been in place. I think to your question about the quarterbacks specifically, they've all got strengths, and the young guys have some weaknesses. So there's the older guy has more knowledge he should. And the knowledge situation is really by age. You got a redshirt freshman who's been here a year. You've got a guy who's been here a couple years, and you got a guy who's been here since January. And there's pluses and minuses to all of them. But I've been pleased, and our staff's been pleased. Particularly Noel and I have been pleased with the management of that position, and really what we've done in the last couple of weeks. That really started a couple of weeks ago, and we'll continue down that road.
To the left, Chip, and then Suzanne and Ben.
Kevin, with the offensive line, are you pretty set with the guys that are going in Saturday? Could we see guys moving within even the game, changing positions?
I don't know that you're going to see guys moving. I hope not. We've done that before because of injury. So let's not go into the game with that kind of deal. But I think what we've proven, what Jim Turner's proven, is that we've practiced guys all over the place for such a situation. We've got, although young, we've got some flexibility. If you look at that depth chart, I made a joke coming in here with AC. I said that was last week's depth chart, and since school's been out, the copy machine's not working. So you guys didn't think that was funny, right? But we're one of the few people that's still giving out a real depth chart. So you know what I mean? So even or well, but that's at least who's got the chance to go in the game. Some people don't even do that anymore. But I'm just trying to everybody's mad because I cut off the access last week, but that was more access than maybe some people around here have given also. It's got to give me some credit on this deal. But I would say that we've practiced a lot of combinations early in camp, and just like the quarterback situation, we've got a plan. And that lineup has really been solidified since last week. We've got the flexibility with Prater to play center or tackle. We've got the flexibility with Eric McCoy to play guard or center, which are two guys that started as freshmen. They're ready to roll. And Keaton Sutherland's played a bunch. We've got a bunch of guys that have played a lot of football. And so I think what Jim has done is gotten our best players on the field. And it's the old saying, you can, just because you're a great player, as an old lineman, you've got to work with other guys. And it's the old saying, you want to coach a nickel at offensive line and not 5 pennies. And 5 guys that are athletic but can't communicate, they got to work as one. And that's where that came from, with the ability to move guys around and create depth and without putting young guys in the lineup. Does that make sense?
Suzanne, and then Ben.
On your quarterbacks, your plan, do the players, the top 3, do they know where they are on the depth chart?
Why, you want to call them and talk to them?
Well, I noticed that Ohio State's, the mothers of their players started tweeting that their sons were getting the starting job, so I was going to check Twitter and their mothers to see if they had tweeted something. Actually, that's what they were talking about this morning. But, can you offer us a little bit more clues as to the plan that you have without giving a ton away?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Now, but on the defense, I noticed there weren't a lot of ors. So
That's correct.
Is that a better depth chart than the offense?
For you, it's a better depth chart. It's the same depth chart.
But you're talking about there aren't as many question marks on defense, I take it?
That's right.
Okay.
Because there's more returning starters.
Thank you.
All right, Ben.
All right, so just to be clear, you're not willing to say who the starter is going to be, who's taking the first snap, correct?
I just covered that.
I was just double checking and making sure. So the second thing is, do you think that it seems like a lot of coaches are, whether it's Harbaugh not providing a roster, McElwain not announce a starter, go on and so forth. Seems like a lot more coaches are doing that. Do you think there's something to a competitive advantage of not having the other team know who your starter is? Do you think that's becoming more prevalent?
I really don't care about that. What I care about is what's best for our team and our program. And so I'm not really worried about what it looks like. As long as our team and our players understand what that plan is, and the people in this organization understand what that plan is, I'm going to do what's best for our organization. Now, there's always going to be speculation, and when people don't have the information that they want individually for whatever reason. But what's important is what's inside this program, and I'm going to do what's best for us. And so our guys are comfortable with the direction we're going. It's been pretty quiet around here for the last week, right, with the exception of Harvey. But everything else has been really quiet as far as competition and over the last week and guys working together, and we're going to continue with that plan.
To the left, Cease.
Kevin, how about an update on your cornerbacks? Is Harvey definitely going to take a medical red shirt? And then what about the fall camp to get where Willis is at along with Oliver
Nick was running last week. So I've had a discussion with Nick. You know, you come off of a knee injury like that, and I think, Cease, you know me, I'm going to leave it up to him. We'll see where he is midway through the season. You know, those are difficult decisions. If he wants to, if he's physically he's ready to go and he wants to play, you know, I'm not going to tell him he can't play. If he's a little hesitant about playing, we don't want him to play, and you know, he's got another year with that situation probably, and he can come back next year. So that decision will be made down the road. Everybody else should be ready to go. You know, Priest was banged up early, but you know, he's been practicing. He started back to practice last weekend. So you know, he's the one guy that really in that group. I don't want to say it was a blessing, but you know, when anybody gets hurt, he knows what he's doing. You know, he understands the defense. He's experienced, which gave us the opportunity to give the Charles Olivers and some of these young guys a lot more reps, and he actually was out there talking with them and helping them. So he's back, and it gave us some flexibility. I think on that depth chart you'll see a couple names on there that those young freshmen that have an opportunity to play. They're certainly going to play a lot of special teams because they are talented, and they've gotten a lot of reps against our number 1-0. So, but to answer your question, Priest is back, and I would look for him and Charles and those guys to be in there. You know, with the nickel being Caper Smith right now. If we're going to play some nickel, which we will, with the two safeties and Donovan Wilson and Armani. You know, if we're playing dime, if we're playing 6 DBs and some long yardage or some other situations, you get Armani down in there and you'll a little bit closer, and we've got some flexibility with our safeties because we've got a bunch of guys. That Keldrick Carper has had an excellent camp, and he moved from just a guy that was going to be a core special teams player, but did some really, really nice things in the last couple scrimmages where we kind of held Armani out or held Donovan just to see what these young guys will do. Didn't miss a beat. So, we've got confidence. He'll be the third safety that will go in the game. We'd like to get him some action early. And back to the OR status and things that are solidified on there. The goal this year, coming into this season, we've got 29 new guys. And I know you've heard me say this before. That's over a third of your team. And so to get those guys prepared and to play and create depth, I think you're going to see a lot of guys. We're taking 69 guys on this trip, and we're going to play a bunch of them.
Go to the very back, Darryl, and then Gabe.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about UCLA's offense? They were good last year against you guys. How much better you think they may be a year later? There's some new coaches, a little different style maybe with what they're doing. But the one common denominator amongst a couple, but the one common denominator is Josh Rosen, who was extremely impressive out here at Kyle Field, and a guy that showed us and showed me a lot with his toughness. We knew he was smart. We knew he's bigger than you think he is. You knew he had the ability at the line of scrimmage. He's made some checks, some changes, threw some great balls, and then I think the big thing that I was impressed with was his toughness, and because we hit him, and we hit him a lot, and he got better. It's not supposed to work that way. It's supposed to go the other way, and the more we hit him, the better he got, particularly in the fourth quarter. So, I was impressed by not only him as a player and his arm talent, and as smart a guy he was, but his toughness. And when you have a quarterback that's like that, that's your hands are full. And UCLA's always got tremendous skill on the perimeter, in the backfield, and he knows what to do with the football. So we're going to have to change our looks. We're going to have to do some things that differently, try to confuse him. It's hard to confuse a veteran player. And then if you can't confuse a guy like that, you better be disciplined in what you're doing. So it's a real challenge for us. I think playing one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the country right off the bat. But the challenge is also to two guys in the back end who've played a lot of football, and two guys that some people consider the best safety tandem in the nation that we have. So the communication, the discipline, and the change of looks is going to make for a pretty good battle next Sunday.
We'll go Gabe, Travis, and Olin. You'll wrap us up.
So two-parter, two completely different
bet.
ones. They can be quick, but your reaction to Dwayne Thomas announcing his transfer, how that impacts your depth at linebacker, and then just the opportunity to take these guys into the Rose Bowl. How excited do you think the guys are for that?
Well, I think Dwayne was a little frustrated with where he was on the depth chart, being here. And so, we had a discussion, and he just wants to play. And where he was behind a couple people, and so, he's moving on. What was your next question?
Rose Bowl.
Oh, yeah, it's we scheduled this game years ago. I thought it was an opportunity for us, for our fans and for our players to get out to a place where a lot of our fans have never been. A lot of our players, have never been. Just a good experience, and playing a traditional school like UCLA home and home was it's a great experience. And but little did I know it opened up a whole nother can of worms with dropping them for Clemson next year, home and home. That's a whole nother story. We move on next year with scheduling, but for our fans who've never been there, it's gonna be great. You better check the weather report, because LA's got one weather report about 65 degrees, and you better look at that Pasadena weather report, because it's up around 100. So I don't want that. I'm just giving the 12th man. We ought to have a home field advantage there, because we've been dealing with that last week up until now. So be prepared, come there, and let's get ready to roll.
Down front, Travis, then Olin, you'll wrap us up.
Don't believe that?
No, just so quick. Did you just say y'all dropped Clemson?
No. I said no. They come off the schedule and Clemson comes on.
UCLA comes off. We're a trade. All right, Travis.
Hey, Coach. I think about 3 years ago, what went into your decision to go with big game footballs for y'all's game balls, and kind of what has that relationship been like in working with them?
That is as long as I've coached, that's a different one. Is this an advertisement for big game? You know those guys over there? No, it's it's a relationship that coaches have at different times. We've got there's a number of affiliates. What I have been around a lot of different footballs. There's all kinds of things that basically all I've done is deal with what our quarterback's like and what our players like. And so Big Game has been a distributor of footballs under many different brands. I'll just put it that way. And because of that, they're independent. They're able to make that ball and for a lot of different brands, and you can be consistent throughout it. And so the girth of the ball changes with guys, with hand size. Some guys like bigger ones, some like, whatever. And what they provide is a number of different footballs that for different quarterbacks. And basically, there's not a lot of people out there that do that. And the service is very, very quick. You know, you can get them really quickly, and they're consistent, and that's basically what you're looking for.
All right, Olin, wrap us up.
Coach, as a competitor, I'm sure after whatever it is, 25, 30 years of coaching, that every year you probably still get pretty excited as the season comes along. I wonder, when you have a team with a lot of oars on the depth chart, and as you mentioned, 29 new players, does that make you more eager to get started? Is there a different feeling, or is it status quo no matter what the situation?
I don't know that that's the case, Owen. I think you know, this is a different team. That's why you do it. I mean, there's turnover in college football all the time, and the better the players are, the quicker the turnover. And I didn't see a lot of fifth-year seniors at the draft this year. There was a whole lot of third-year players and some fourth-year players that got hurt early, you know, in the first, second, third round. So a lot of young guys are playing early and leaving. This particular team is different, not because of the new guys, but how the older guys, the experienced guys, have embraced the new guys, and knowing that we're going to be dependent on these guys, either as some of them starters, but a lot of them backups that we plan to play and really try to extend our depth, not just at the beginning of the season, but throughout the season, and get these guys ready to go. So from that standpoint, you got a lot more guys that you're getting ready, and there's a lot more energy. You have to have a lot more energy to do that than, you know, if you've got like year one where we only played 13 different guys on defense the whole year. You know, you're looking at a situation now where on that depth chart, the possibility of 25, 30, and you know, that's good, but I think it's given this team a lot more energy and a lot more focus because of the number of guys that have to stay focused, have to know what they're doing, and taking some time from coaches that, hey, we've done more walkthroughs, we've done a lot more things outside of the classroom than we've done because we've really had to get a lot more people ready.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thank you.
got players.